So the next resource I'm going to be looking at in this video is education.com. And this is another one of the resources where it can really be used for any element of reading and even beyond just reading. So it's a very flexible, diverse website, a resource to use in your classroom. But for today, we're just going to be focusing on phonics and how this website can be used to teach phonics. So looking at the homepage, there are both free and paid versions. I feel like the free version is pretty extensive. You can get a lot out of the website for free. I feel like this is similar to Teachers Pay Teachers, except the assignments aren't just made by any teachers. It's a staff that are supposed to make research-based assignments and sort of have to be approved before they can just be placed onto the site. So, getting into the phonics element of this, we can go to the Learning Library. And here you can see all of the educational resources that the site offers. So you can search the entire library for specific things. There are worksheets, printables that you can have for students. There's games that students can play. There are guided lessons that are prepackaged for teachers and lesson plans. So, and there's also a few more elements, but these are the main ones. So if we went to the entire library, and over here is the filtering system. Say I wanted to do a lesson for first grade. I could mark whether or not it was for an English learner, if I wanted it to be adjustable for an English learner or to have additional resources supporting them. I can go by subject. So as you can see, like I said, there's a lot of different ways this website can be used. But for now, I'm just focusing on reading and writing. And phonics is actually sorted under grammar instead of reading, I think because it is that written word associating with the sound rather than the spoken. So I'm not sure why it's categorized there, but I did look through the lessons and they are just typical phonics lessons. So I can select that and it gets even more specific. I can choose activities that just pertain to certain letter sounds, syllables, or word patterns. So if I click letter sounds, it goes even more specific. So if I wanted to find a lesson or a game or an activity for students about ending sounds, middle sounds, stretching words, which would be basically like blending and segmenting in the language of this site. If I wanted to learn about specific vowels, vowel teams, R-controlled vowels, different consonants, that sort of thing, double consonants, silent letters, decoding words, rhyming words. There's so much that you can do with this website, and you can get super specific in what you're looking for. So that's something that I really like, that it's not just broad. It really targets those specific skills. So this is as far as I'm going to go in terms of filtering. I'm just going to look at everything that they have for phonics. And as you can see, they have about 600 results for first grade in phonics, which is quite a lot in the entire library. So we can look at worksheets. And again, I've said this in other videos, I feel like it's important as teachers to try to create lessons that are catered to students, but I don't feel like there's anything wrong with taking inspiration from seasoned teachers, looking at what other people are doing, as long as it's research-based, as long as it's methodical, because some people aren't going to have a creative idea for a lesson for every single element of teaching. They might not know the best way to teach, so it's actually good, and I feel like in that element, to look at other people's work. But you can also put a spin on it and make it your own, which is useful for this website because there are some limits to the free accessibility for worksheets. So say I was going to look through these and I'm looking for something about silent E. So I can click on this. And while I was exploring this website, I used up all of the free downloads I had per the month. But it does give me an image of the worksheet, so I could see what an idea of a worksheet would look like for this skill, and that would give me an idea to create my own and modify it for my students. It specifies the grade, the subject, and what's really useful is it targets specific standards. So you can sort by whatever standards are relevant to you if you do Common Core. There's some states on here, and even outside of the United States, there's some resources for that. And a lot of the Common Core standards will align to whatever standards you have in your state. And then it specifies exactly what they align to. And you can click on that and you can find other resources that also align with that standards. If you wanted to pack a bunch of worksheets together, you could do that. So that is what the worksheets sort of look like. We'll pop over to guided lessons. We'll come back to games because those are usually completely free. But guided lessons are sort of modules that students can walk through. This is a premium feature. Again, I know that as teachers, we want to kind of save money. We don't have a whole lot of spending. There's so much we can put into our classrooms, so it's really picking and choosing the best resources. But this is a really good, engaging way for students to engage in phonics. So if you thought it was worthwhile, that is also an option. And then prepackaged lesson plans. So vowels, short vowel names, that sort of thing. I'm sure if you sorted by different grades and such, there might be more resources. But the highlight of the site is really the worksheets and games. I haven't looked too much into these. But this does give you an outline of the subjects. It gives you an explanation of what the lesson is. There's some related guided lessons, games, different resources. So I like that it kind of ties it together and packages it up like that. Again, you can choose your standards. And I don't have any more free downloads this month because I was not noticing that when I was just clicking through and randomly touching everything when I was deciding whether or not to share this website. So unfortunately, I don't have any examples, but it is something where you can pick and choose. But the main thing I wanted to share was the games. I know that games aren't really substitutions for learning, but I feel like they can be supplementary, especially if your students have free time, transition periods, if some students get finished early with whatever you have planned for the day. It's nice to have something for them to do that is both fun and rewarding, but also instructional. So if you have something like Clever that helps compile resources for students, or just like a classroom folder of games that students can access, this would be something good to pop in there as well. So if I'm just looking at games, I can filter by whatever grade level I have. So say I have first grade students. And again, I wanted to do the phonics. I could go down to grammar, phonics. Let's say I was specifically targeting letter sounds. So this would give me all 59 of the games that specifically target letter sounds. So I can just look through these, say I am targeting, I had a technical difficulty there, but I brought up again another phonics game, and even the games are aligned with certain standards, subjects, the grade level, all of that, and you can see related resources. So again, I would just plug in this link to like a Google Classroom or Clever, or whatever I use to share sites with my students, and they just have to press play. And it would bring up the game for them. So this is just an idea of what it looks like. I'm not sure how fast this is going to go. Oh, okay. So it'll bring that up, and then they would have to spell and sound out. So there we go. And sorry, you can't hear the audio because I'm using the microphone, but there is an audio that plays the letter sounds and such. So yeah, a lot of the games are just like that. Fun, simple, definitely not something to substitute teaching, but a good supplement. So that was education.com. Again, this is something that I feel like can go beyond just teaching reading. Unfortunately, there are paid elements, but you can get a lot out of it for free. And it's just a good way to see what other teachers are doing and generate ideas for lessons, activities, that sort of thing, and make them your own, and give students just a fun way to practice a really important skill.